Guys, what's going on? There's a new Star Wars movie in theaters. I'm super excited, and I thought this would be a great time to show off my Star Wars movie collection. DVDs, Blu-rays, VHS tapes. You might be thinking to yourself, well, how many movies can he actually have? There's only a certain number that they've made. Oh, but I'm a collector, and I have a lot of different things that, I don't know, maybe you've never seen before. So we're going to get into that. I'm going to show you my ridiculous Star Wars movie collection right after this. Like I said at the top of the video, I have it's ridiculous. It's really ridiculous. You don't set out to accumulate all these things. You just wake up one day and you're like, how did I get all this stuff? How do I have all these copies of Star Wars movies and all these different editions? So let's start with the newest. That'd probably be the easiest way to go. So we have, wow, look at all that reflection. That's going to be a nightmare for the camera. Okay, Rogue One. Whoa! It's like we're in the club, you guys. Oh my goodness. Rogue One. Everybody knows about Rogue One. That's not a surprise. Then we go backwards to The Force Awakens. Episode 7. Everybody knows about that. So let's go back a little bit. I think before that, the more significant release, of course, was the Blu-rays for the original trilogy and the prequel trilogy. Now this was fun to finally have these in high definition. Of course, the double-edged sword was you get the movies in HD, but they've been tinkered with again, right? Like George Lucas was always tinkering with these movies. And this was no exception. So now we have, like at the end of Return of the Jedi, we have Darth Vader going, no! The way they did this was just like, you know, and I'm also not crazy about this packaging where you have discs in cardboard that you have to slide out each and every time. Guys, just use a hub. So going back before that, what would be the next logical step? And let's see. Yeah, let's just go with these. So the Clone Wars. So I do not have all of the Clone Wars. I have, oh, these are not even in order. Okay, let's see. We have Season 1. We have Season 2. Season 3. And Season 4. If you're up on your Star Wars, you will know that I am missing 2 seasons. I'm missing Season 5. This is dusty. I'm missing Season 5, and I'm missing the final season. I plan to get him at some point. It's just one of those things where it just hasn't happened yet. But if you are a Star Wars fan and you are not up on Clone Wars, this was a really good show. It wasn't always great. It was hit or miss. But George Lucas was a driving force behind this. A lot of the stories were his idea. Dave Filoni, the man who, in my opinion, should actually be running Star Wars. Now, I know he's on the, it's the Jedi Council, basically. The real Jedi Council. I think it's the Lucasfilm Story Group is what it's called, but they're the keepers of the Star Wars flame. They're the people who decide what makes it into the movies and what doesn't. Dave Filoni, in my opinion, should be running the show. But this was George Lucas's project. This was his baby. And that's why he was like, guess what, guys? We're bringing back Darth Maul. Yeah, he got cut in half, but we're bringing him back. And it was actually a really cool story. A really good story. Okay, before that, we had the Clone Wars theatrical film. There was a movie that played in theaters that nobody went to go see. I think it was around for about 2 weeks. And this was essentially the pilot for the show. This is what set everything in motion. This was good. This was not great. It's had a little hut baby named Stinky, if I remember correctly. It was like, is this where we're going with Star Wars? So, but you know what? It was good stuff. Now, here's where we start to get a little bit interesting. Where should I go next? You know what? The natural precursor to the other thing that I just showed you would be the Clone Wars micro series. These were animated by Genndy Tartakovsky, the guy behind Samurai Jack on Cartoon Network. These seem to be slowly, it's like they're being erased from history, like they didn't happen. If you have an opportunity to pick these up, if you do not have them and you have an opportunity to pick these up, grab them. Lucasfilm seems to want these not to exist, especially since they have this. The focus really seems to be, well, let's forget about this and focus on this. This was more realistic storytelling. I mean, as realistic as you can be with a little hut baby named Stinky. This was like high fantasy, and I feel like the way, like a single Jedi taking out hundreds of enemies. Exaggerated, probably not exactly what George Lucas was thinking of as being, you know, his preferred take on what happened, but they were awesome at the time, and I think they were 3-minute chunks. I think maybe season 2 was 5-minute chunks. But now, because the new Clone Wars, and because new Clone Wars is owned by Disney, these are hard to find. I know for a while, I think they're out of print. I know for a while they were rare and they were going for big dollars on the internet. They might still be. I haven't checked in a while because I have them. But I recommend these. All right, let's see. We have the original Star Wars trilogy, the first DVD release in this slick packaging. There's probably millions of people out there that have this. There's not a lot to be said. It's the original trilogy with, you know, it's the special editions with like all the CGI business in the background. Yeah, Greedo shooting first. All the revisions. This was the first DVD. The thing that this set gave us that's a standout is this bonus disc, which has Empire of Dreams on it. This fantastic documentary about the making of Star Wars. Anyway, not much to be said about these. This was the first time we'd gotten the original trilogy on DVD, and it was a good day. But before that, we have the prequels. Say what you will about the prequels. I like them. I think they have their place. My only real criticism about modern Star Wars post George Lucas, the new Disney run Star Wars, my only real criticism is that I miss George Lucas. And that may be hard for some people to understand, people who've grown up in a different era. But for me, I lived through all of George Lucas's Star Wars, and he was the guy. It was his baby, and it came out of his head. I was all on board for it. I was on board for the Phantom Menace. I wasn't crazy about Jar Jar. I'm still not crazy about Jar Jar, but I understand that Jar Jar has a favorite place. And I have an 11-year-old daughter who, to this day, her favorite character is Jar Jar. I have the Story of Star Wars. I think this might have been a mail-in for something. It was a bonus DVD. I have no idea. Maybe this was like if you go to Target or if like a Best Buy, like if you buy the original trilogy, you can have the Story of Star Wars DVD for free. It's probably something like that. I don't remember. I haven't watched it in a long time, but I know you can't just go out and buy this anymore. And of course, this is the story of the original trilogy. So that's unique. I don't think a lot of people have this. The Ewok Adventure. Well, it's Caravan of Courage, which was the Ewok Adventure, and then the Battle for Endor. The 2 Ewok movies, you guys. They made 2 movies about Ewoks. For movies that were about little teddy bears, and like people criticize the Ewoks. Some people do. You know what? Ewoks are okay in my book. I'm cool with the Ewoks. But people criticize the Ewoks as being just like marketing teddy bears, which Porg. Now, you go back and watch these movies, you're like, holy crap, they kill a bunch of people in these movies. And this is another thing that, like, if you don't have it and you can't find it cheap, like, good luck, because they do not want this thing to exist. It's like Ewok movies, no, those didn't happen. The Ewok movies did not happen. You did not see Caravan of Courage. Here's another thing. I have no idea exactly where this came from. I think this might have been a Best Buy exclusive, like 2002, somewhere in there. See, yeah, it's 2002 copyright. This is essentially, so R2-D2 beneath the dome. He's got a little bow tie. It's got a little bow tie there. The idea behind this is that it's like the true Hollywood story of R2-D2, where he did all these things. He was in all these places. Like he rubbed shoulders with the Beatles, and he guest starred on I Dream of Jeannie. It's totally made up, but it's fun. It's totally fictional, a fictional account of The Secret Life of R2-D2. So this is hard to find. I don't think you see that a lot of places. All right, let's go back into the VHS days because we're losing time here. We're getting further and further away. First of all, we've got Star Wars The Phantom Menace, the Collector's Edition. This was a special version of this movie. We have a little book here that has, it's basically like an art book that was pretty cool. Dun, 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 dun. Okay, beneath that we have a film cell. So we have a film cell, and then we have the widescreen version of the Phantom Menace, which was important back in the day. Hey man, widescreen, I don't want that chopped letter or that chopped full frame version of that. And we still have the original coupons because these things always came with coupons in the bottom. Let's get weird. You ready to get weird? I don't know why I have some of this stuff. So that was the Phantom Menace widescreen collector's version. Here's the Phantom Menace regular version, not widescreen, just the regular normal retail version. That was opened. That's an opened copy. So I also have the original Phantom Menace VHS sealed with the original like rebate offers and everything on it. It's got a serial number here, which is actually a anti-theft device, one of those magnetic doodads. So I have a sealed copy, I have an open copy, I have a widescreen copy, an open full-frame copy, a sealed full-frame copy. Let's get weird. I have a Spanish copy, sealed. It is La Amenaza Fantasma. There we go. You know, I think all this came on an eBay lot. I think that may be where this came from. So I have a sealed Spanish language version. I guess this is the Mexican release. It gets weirder. It gets weirder, guys. I have... What is this? This is a Chinese, I believe, Cantonese dub video disc. Sealed. It's got to be sealed. Of the Phantom Menace. You can check out all that sweet Cantonese on it. Okay, before that, we had this bad boy. Now, this came in two different versions. This came in the regular full-frame version, and this came in a widescreen version. I don't have the widescreen version. I will one day, but I don't have it right now. These were the first time that the special editions had been made available, and it was a big deal. I remember celebrating the special editions and being like, holy crap, like all this extra stuff, like in A New Hope. There's all these extra TIE fighters going into the Death Star battle at the end. It was amazing. And then on Cloud City, there's all this extra like texture, and there's like more city in the background that you can see. And I was never crazy about the changes to Return of the Jedi, particularly the jazz blues number in Jabba's palace. Not a big fan of the jazz blues number. But I remember being super happy about these and being like, oh, I love them. I love these special editions. It's amazing how time changes your perspective. So a lot of people have those. Those are very popular. Around the same time that those came out, maybe a little bit before, we had these two releases. This is single volume editions of Droids and Ewoks. And I believe these are the only volumes of these that they put out. Before those videos came out, we had this. Now, at one point in time, this was so readily available. I mean, they would send... I think there's a joke in Wayne's World that, like, Frampton Comes Alive came free in the mail with packets of Tide. And that's essentially, like, there are so many of these floating around in the world. But for a long... And you would see them everywhere. Like, everywhere. But now, they're a little bit more valuable because these are the original trilogy, unaltered, pre-special edition, see it again for the first time, for the last time. This was 1995 and has a nice little note here from George Lucas basically saying that thank you for allowing these movies to become part of your lives. We're going cool places with this franchise, so hang on. But they were very clear about when these came out. They were very clear that this would be the only time that the THX remasters would be issued on VHS. And looking back on it now, he was serious. They said exactly what they were doing. They were like, after this, you will not be able to buy these movies again in this way. And they meant it. And here we are over 20 years later. And these are like coveted. The original trilogy, unaltered, is like coveted. The problem, of course, with these is that they're not widescreen. They're VHS. That's not a huge deal for me. I have a dedicated retro setup with old game systems connected to it. I have an old tube TV, a big old tube TV with a VHS player, a VCR hooked up to it. So I could watch these, but I'd rather watch these. These are the same versions of the movies, but this is the widescreen collector's set. Same note from Mr. Lucas on the back, but this time the movies are in all their widescreen glory. So that brings us to the last item in my video collection, and that is the original Star Wars trilogy, the VHS tapes. I believe this represents the earliest, or one of the earliest, VHS releases of Star Wars A New Hope. See, it doesn't even say A New Hope. It just says Star Wars. There's no episode number on this. It has a copyright date of 1984 on the back. Motion picture copyright 1977. Package copyright 1984. So this is probably from 1984. I believe these releases, yeah, these two releases are from 1990. But these are the pre-THX original, untouched, or I should say unaltered. These are the movies. This is what I grew up with. These movies in this format are what I grew up with. So that is my ridiculous Star Wars movie collection. Ridiculous. Why do I have this? I can't watch this. I don't speak Cantonese. But you know what? It's cool. It's just all part of my living and evolving Star Wars collection. There's more stuff that I wish that I had that I just don't. There's more stuff out there. I got to finish my Clone Wars collection. I look at this and I see all the blessings that I have, and I'm like, oh, I need to finish Clone Wars. And I have, oh, you know what? I have some Rebels too, but I didn't pull those. Rebels is good too. So that's it. I want to thank you for watching this video. Check out serialatmidnight.com. Check out our Facebook page. I'll link to it in the notes below this. And guys, I really thank you for taking the time to watch this video. I appreciate it, and I will catch you later.